Angels just lost in walk-off-ish fashion in the bottom of the 8th inning. Angels Twitter's lit on fire. I'm reveling in it because people are getting locked out of Twitter for saying stupid things and telling people they suck. So I'm having a fun time. How about you?
I mean, that's always a good time. Here's the thing. Specks and I have had many debates here on the podcast. Most of the time, I'd say we at least try to find something we don't agree on and then like go all in on it. But there have been several times where one of us has just gone with being devil's advocate.
It's usually me.
So most of the time, Specs and I get to sit here and talk and go, this is funny. Because I think, obviously we don't necessarily make much of a footprint in Angel's Twitter or in Angel's whatever pod sphere thing you want to call it.
I get around because I know the right people.
but it's
I'm usually the pragmatic
I think we
one.
would be considered a good voice of reason. Maybe just I think the biggest voices of reason are what's their names, the brothers.
Oh yeah, John and Mark.
Yeah, they're probably good voices of reason too.
I think maybe that's why I get along with them, is because like they can say something, or they'll say something, I agree with it, and I kind of expand upon it, or at least like give it a little bit more broad of an issue. But I agree. Yeah. I think guys, like I said, I've said this before. I don't think, and I'll keep saying it, I don't think they get enough credit for what they do. I think it's hard for them. It is. It is like when you're in, like, I'm going to be fully on this team covering them in about a week, and like on paper, and it's rough because you're dealing with this. Yeah. Like all the stuff that you have to do just to sort of like keep up with it and stuff. It sucks. But when you're in there day in and day out consistently, you kind of see like there's a lot of ebbs and flows, and a lot of times just crazy things, weird things happen, like a hanging curveball in Colorado. Of course, like that's gonna happen. What do you like? I wouldn't expect anything less, honestly. But it's one game. Whoopie-doo. You don't go in going for sleep. You want to take 2 out of 3. So win tomorrow, win Sunday, you're good to go. Like it was a bad pitch, it was a hanging curveball. You know, hey, it happens. Well, if it happens again, then you got to worry. But like, everyone's going to make a big deal because they lost 2 to the Dodgers. And in the Dodger game, they lost to Kershaw, who was lights out. And then you lost a bullpen game where Dave Roberts basically said, no hitter seeing the same pitcher twice. Big deal. And then you lost on a hanging curveball that got hit out. All right, whatever. You wipe it off, you go on to the next one. There's nothing you can do. Because if that pitch breaks a little bit harder or misses a little bit down, you don't have to worry. No one's going to care. Big deal. It's baseball. You wipe it off, you go on. No reason to be blaming anyone for anything. No reason to be blaming Andrew Velasquez. Hey, it happens. The best of them get it. Wipe it off, move on.
Sure. I guess we're doing this a little backwards from what we normally do. We usually talk
because we were talking about it. We were talking about it before.
Led into it. We had all the momentum in the world to talk about the Angels. Now, what's funny though is I think since the last time, like, I mean, we talked last week about how strong they've been looking, and I still think even like as they've gotten a lot of these injuries, like Urshela is out for the season. But today, as of this recording, they picked up Escobar from the Mets
for virtually nothing. So.
Or pretty much, yeah. Just
it was 2 minor league pitchers who I don't expect to get any kind of call up.
What's funny is I'm not. You're plugged into Angels Twitter and I'm plugged into Angels Facebook, and the guys on Angels Facebook are being so stupid. They're like, we just gave up 2 pitching prospects for blah 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 blah. Look, shut up.
You gave up 2 guys who I think
we're not sure things.
I think everyone.
How many pitching prospects do we currently have waiting in the wings?
I think everything. I gotta see if I can find it.
We drafted 20 guys in 2020. What was it? 2021.
Yeah, like every round was a pitcher.
Literally every round was a pitcher.
Yeah, I'm trying to look. I'm trying to find it still. Hang on. Keep going.
And then in that same conversation, people were like, and then, it's going to pick up again today because of this loss, but like, people were like, trade Ohtani, you could get this amazing package from the Mets or whatever. First of all, I don't know that the Mets are going to offer that anyways. But like what? It doesn't make sense. And I find, I've one of the things I've gotten behind with you now, like in terms of an idea, is people act like the Angels are going to get absolutely nothing, but they're going to make a qualifying offer to Ohtani in the offseason. This is all assuming he doesn't extend, of course, but they're going to make a qualifying offer to Ohtani in the offseason. And obviously he'll turn it down, and then the Angels will get a second round draft pick when he signs for $50 million a year wherever he goes.
First.
Is it first? I thought the highest you could do is second.
I think if you decline a if you decline a QC or a QO, it's a first overall pick. The only reason so if I should clarify, let me clarify. If you were to sign, the only way it goes to a second round pick is if he signs with like a team with a top 10 pick, or that team already forfeited their first round pick. So like if they sign, like if the Dodgers signed him and somebody else, then the Angels might get a second round pick. But if he declines the qualifying offer, they get a first round pick compensation. I believe if he's A, and I'm going to assume he'd be classified as an A type free agent. So I think now they have like A and B, A, B, and C or something. A's are first round pick compensation. B's and C's are second round compensation, I think. I think that's what it is.
Hold on, I'm reading it online.
I know it's something in that regard where it's like, I'm still looking for like what somebody talked about
it does say Angels will get it in the second round.
So
it says
is he
compensation for losing players who reject their QO. If a team gives a qualifying offer to a player who then signs elsewhere, the club that lost the player is eligible for a draft pick compensation. If the team that loses the free agent is a revenue sharing recipient based on its revenues and market size, then the selection, if and only the lost player signs for at least $50 million, will be awarded a pick between the first round and the competitive balance round A of the 2022 MLB draft. If the player who signs for less than $50 million, the compensation pick for those teams would come after the competitive balance round B, which follows the second round. The following 14 teams currently qualify these picks: the A's, Brewers, Diamondbacks, Guardians, Mariners, Marlins, the Orioles, Pirates, Rays, Reds, Rockies, Royals, Tigers, and Twins. If the team that loses the player does not receive revenue sharing and did not exceed the luxury tax salary threshold the previous season, its compensatory pick will come after competitive balance round B. The value of the player's contract does not matter in this case.
Interesting. They got rid of it
coming after the second round. So it's not even a second round. I think it's
wow. They got rid of it entirely.
It's a pre-third round pick.
It's cut. Yeah. So they're weird. They have compensation round A and compensation round B picks. Okay, that's weird, but I kind of like it.
Yeah. So they would. I think it's basically right after the second round. Anybody who gets those compensation picks. So it's kind of like an end of the second round. Is what it sounds like. Mm-hmm.
It'll be a decent enough
and
pick.
then whoever signed Ohtani would lose their pick.
Yeah, isn't that what I said? Like they don't. The Angels don't gain a pick; they gain like an in between pick.
Yeah. So it'll, yeah, it would suck to lose Ohtani. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that we are going to. It's not a given.
No.
You and I have discussed that. We're not at that stage of the Angels definitely lose Ohtani. Yeah, no, we don't know that.
I think what's funny is when, like, looking at other teams that are in the hunt. None of the teams that are necessarily in the hunt, like they're not doing exceptionally well. Like the Dodgers aren't doing well at all. The Mets are 6 games under 500, so it's almost like why would he go? And those were the front runner. I mean, the Padres are out of it basically at this point too. So it's almost like why would he go to these teams? Realistically, it's not. They're not, looking at like the other teams involved. He's better off staying where he's at this point, truthfully.
Yeah.
I mean, they Dodger fans. The funny thing is I've had this talk a couple times with the Dodgers about him. Is like what they've done the last 2 off seasons makes no sense to me. At like in the slightest, they've in the last 2 off seasons they let 2 shortstops go. They let Corey Seager walk and they let Trey Turner walk. Both of those made no sense. I figured they just when they didn't re-sign Corey, it just meant they rather have Trey. All right, that makes sense. And then they didn't even offer Trey Turner a contract. So it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like what are you doing? Are you?
Well, and like it's like this is clearly them building up to sign Ohtani, and it's like, but you still need a team around Ohtani.
I think, like I said,
doesn't Ohtani want to go somewhere to win? Like, isn't that what everybody from John Heyman on saying? Like, Ohtani clearly wants to sign with a winner.
Well, see, that's the whole thing where I kind of laugh, and it's like, well, all the winners are gone. So what do you?
Well, yeah, two of the teams that everybody's describing as here's the winner that's going to sign him, the Mets and the Dodgers. They're not playing.
Well, the players still think they did a thing. They did a poll or something. I don't trust these polls a whole lot because I think the players just don't. I don't think players know, but they keep picking like the Dodgers and Angels, and the Dodgers were like the favorites to sign Ohtani, followed by the Angels. But it's like the Dodgers are in no position to like really do much anything really. Because he just played 2 games with them. There's no way he's looking at them and thinking, this is better than where I'm at. Argumentatively.
Yeah.
Like I said, even San Diego, for the most part, it's like they're not doing too hot either. So it's just, what do you...
Sure.
Like, it sort of goes back to when, like, John Heyman blocked me when I said it's white noise. It's like, you're not... none of these reporters are saying anything, and I include myself in that too. It's like,
well, it's been funny. You and I have talked about this, but like every freaking time, any of these reporters come out and go, Ohtani signing probably with the Dodgers in the offseason. It's like that's not based on anything. That's not based on anything.
That's based on your gut feeling.
It's literally these are guys who literally make whole careers off saying sources close with the organization told me, sources close with blah 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 told me, sources close with this player told me. It's like, but then all of a sudden you're like, so you're telling me that when it comes to the most important player in baseball, they're gonna stop doing that for what? To protect a source by not saying a source close to him told me? Like,
no, because there is no source.
There's no source.
There is no source.
It's gone. Man, this is the best player in baseball. Why would he want to play for the Angels?
Well,
and like, look, the logic kind of tracks, but it also like doesn't really track 100% either. So
but
it's
the
like,
funny part, the funny thing is I laugh Sam Blum. Like I said, I respect Sam Blum a lot. Like anytime he says that, like anytime there are those reports, they'll come back and be like, there's no evidence of this. I don't even like, he's done it where it's like, don't even like bother. Like he's clapped back a few times. So does Fletcher. So it looks like everyone around, like everyone who's covering the club in some regard is sort of shooting these stuff down as it comes across as like opinion pieces and not to be taken seriously for the most part. Yeah. And all that. But I think too, it's like I have a funny hunch that some people in baseball just want the ability to see Ohtani, it's sort of, I think I made this point prior where it's almost like East Coast. I think I've talked about this with CJ. I don't think I've said it here, where it's like East Coast fans sort of enjoy the idea of like they can dictate where players should go to be more fun. To like, to like enhance the game. Like I remember somebody saying, put Randy on the Phillies. That'd be fun. And I'm like, why would Randy want to go to the Phillies? Like, why? Just to like substantiate your claim for wanting like the best players to play for 4 teams and 5 of those are on the West Coast because it's more fun. It's like, it's not fun. Fun is Luis Arias trying to hit 400 in Miami. Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
Fun is seeing Shohei Ohtani go for the cycle while he pitches in Anaheim. That's fun. Fun is seeing the Kansas City Royals rookie's first hit be a walk-off against my Angels that sends me on a 10-minute rant. Like, that's fun. Like, that's what baseball is. Baseball's not the NBA where 4 players where all the good players play for 5 teams and that's it. That's never been baseball. Baseball's always been some guy gets hot and carries a team to a playoff chase into the World Series. That notion that these guys should be playing for the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Giants when they're good, are like this, just the teams that are good, has never been the case. That's never been it. Baseball's always had like wild card teams get in. Like Seattle did it last year. They're not going to do it this year, but Seattle was that team last year where they were just fun to watch for a little bit. And they got into the postseason after a long drought and all that, like that's what makes baseball fun. And there's no one out there saying trade Julio Rodriguez. Like there's no one saying that. It's just this weird collective of people who think Anaheim deserves nothing. And I mean, a lot of it's got to do with Artie, but on top of it too, it's just, it's difficult when people day in and day out who don't have the wherewithal, the understanding of how the game's actually played, who criticize, say stupid things, and look at things through a microcosm and just want to point the finger and just go about it and say, all right, we lost one, shake it off and let's go. Like, that's what it is. Regardless of whether it was a pitch, an error, or anything, just pointing the finger at 3 or 4 guys and saying it's their fault, does nothing. It's a team game. You win as a team, you lose as a team. That's what happens. You're going to have games where you're going to get outslugged. You're going to have games where you should have won that you didn't. That's just the nature of it. It's 162 games. Like, looking at a microcosm of 3 games or 5 games and pointing and blaming and being like, this team's falling apart, where it's like they just went out and got a new third baseman. He probably will be playing Sunday, if not Monday. You'll be fine. Like, the big thing for them right now is weathering the injuries. You lost 2 third basemen to injuries. You lost your shortstop for an X amount of time. That Velasquez is kind of missing the mark a little bit, but that's right now. That's what you have to do. You have to just survive.
Oh, yeah.
Survive.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you weather these losing times so that way, when things get good, you can get hot again. So, and what was funny is I ended up arguing with a guy. Well, not arguing, but I ended up having a small little thing with a guy, a Houston Astros fan on.
Oh, that sounds fun.
On Twitter, it was so. The Angels had announced that Escobar, who was mentioned in like, the Angels should trade
Bo
to
Porter
the
trade.
Mets. Should trade a ton
That
to
trade
the Mets
was that trade would never happen for a multitude of reasons.
But what was funny, so we ended up getting Escobar anyways for like we said, like not much
For a bag of Cheetos.
And guy responded to it with, "Y'all better trade Ohtani before he leaves and get nothing in return." First of all, we're never gonna get nothing because the Angels will make him a qualifying offer.
Yep.
And I said, if the Halos were in the middle, my response was, if the Halos weren't in the middle of the playoff hunt, this might be more logical. And he responded with, if he leaves for nothing, that will take the franchise back 10 years. Huge risk. My favorite thing. I think you're going to like what this Angels fan responded with.
Oh, boy.
Take the franchise back? Like we've been a good team? this is one of the very few seasons we've had actual success in that there's no point in trading Shohei right now at all unless he mentioned before we start falling apart, basically, unless he says trade me. But set us back. That's hilarious. He says LMAO, good team. The guy ended up misunderstanding. But he was like the other guy was saying good team. He says, don't give a damn. Whenever I make the comment, I get all these dumb replies. He's gone. Why wouldn't you move him to get something in return? Doesn't make sense. And yeah, they haven't been good, so move him. And my response was, wait, the season ended and Shohei's contract is up? Or you're a time traveler? Yeah, he might leave, but why give him up in the middle of a playoff hunt? Especially considering they probably won't get a good deal for him. Just take the second rounder for the qualifying offer. So post second round, whatever you want to call it. So and the other guy's response was, and the other guy who's an Angels fan said, but why are you going to move your superstar if you have a shot at making the postseason? Bingo. And you're playing good baseball? That's the point.
Bingo.
Of course, the Angels want to win so that they could try and keep Ohtani. That's the point. They'd rather not trade him.
Yep.
And anyone and everyone knows that Artie Moreno would pay an arm and a leg to keep Ohtani, but it's mostly about winning. If the Angels can't do that this season, then Ohtani is more than likely gone.
So I want to point this out because I find this interesting.
We also still don't know that what he said though about Ohtani wanting to win. We don't know that he necessarily is gonna be like, if the Angels can't win, then I'm gone because I need to win now.
So I want to point.
Nothing said that yet, but
I want to point something out that, take it for what it is, but I think this is rather interesting. So the Angels now are a half a game behind Houston for second place, and I don't see just straight up wild card, but whatever. Wait, can I division?
I was just looking at this.
Oh, wild card. I think they're like so, and they're half a game out of the wild card. New York
for the third.
All right, what? Okay.
They're tied with Toronto, half game back, and then they're a game back of Houston, and then they're 5 games, or no, 5.5 games back of Baltimore.
So there's 7 back in the West. There's 1 game behind Houston. Here's the interesting part that I think speaks a little bit more comparative. So Seattle is 500. They're 9.5 back. They're I don't think they're going to really fluctuate, but here's what's fascinating. Against teams with 500 records or better, Texas is 25-19, Houston's 20-24, Angels are 21-27, Seattle is 14-26, Oakland is 15-45. So take that for what it's worth, but despite what everyone's saying, this team's probably going to be hanging around for a while and will probably be right there with Houston, because no offense to Houston, I don't think Houston has the pieces to make any kind of deals to really help them, and the Angels do. Texas, same thing. I don't think Seattle's gonna be doing a lot. Seattle might be aggressive, but I think they're too far gone at this point. Wild card wise, they're far out too.
Yeah, I feel like the Angels
wild card
right now
are 3 games out.
I feel like the Angels right now are just good enough that they're showing that if they do buy and get the right pieces, and I trust Perry Managian to do some good buying at the deadline, if like he's given that option, then I would think that the Angels could potentially get if they got the right kind of pieces, they could make a nice little thing and have like a good little, maybe even a little bit of pad in their wild card hunt.
Well, I guess the interesting sort of thing of teams who are probably selling right now would be Detroit, Chicago, Kansas City, and Oakland in the American League. In the National League, you're probably looking at St. Louis, possibly Colorado, and Washington. And for the most part, that's not a lot in terms of like guys who you think could help St. Louis. If St. Louis were to sell, there's a lot that could come out of St. Louis. Jack Flaherty is one of them. Paul Goldschmidt's one of them. For the most part, maybe a couple of their outfielding pieces could be moved as well. Like that could be an interesting case, but and the same thing with Chicago. There's some pitching that could come out of Chicago. Kansas City has a couple relievers. Oakland has like a reliever and maybe an outfielder that could be dealt. But it really comes down to like teams right now, like Cleveland, or is Cleveland going to kind of sell? Detroit has a couple of interesting ones, but when you're sort of looking at it as a whole, there's not really a lot. I think New York's another interesting one. If New York would to say we kind of want to repackage ourselves, that could be interesting. Like I said, I think the trade of Escobar. I mean, Escobar is sort of a lateral move, realistically. But if they were to say like trade, if they were to trade like Marte and like another pitcher like Carrasco, that could get kind of interesting. But again, those probably might be more like lateral moves. But like, there's plenty of things to sort of look at if you're looking at it like as a whole and not just sort of like the last bit, because realistically too, the Angels are 5-5 in the last 10. Houston's 4-6.
Yeah.
Like, well, we lost to Kansas City and 2 of the Dodgers. All right, big deal. They're playing the Dodgers right now. Like, it's one of those things.
Kansas City, 2 to the Dodgers, and so far 1 of the Rockies.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, can we stop looking at like this?
Did we win the series against the Royals?
Yeah, we took 2 out of 3.
Yeah. So
that's all you
why
can
are
do.
People complaining that we lost 1?
Because they want something to complain about. It's that simple. The people who complain about it.
The Royals, you should have swept them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is their logic? Their logic is they're a bad team. We should win all of them. And they were. See, here's what they think. Is their logic is that team was losing 10 in a row. We should have made it 11. And I'm like, that team lost 10 in a row. They were probably due.
Yeah. These are still professional baseball. Even for the Athletics, these are still professional baseball players.
Yeah, no, that's the whole that's the thing where I'm like, if you're
not going to lose 100% of the time. That's the whole thing. Otherwise, the Royals right now would be what? Oh, and how many games have they played?
That's the whole that's my point. It's like when the Angels lost
76.
It's one of those things where it's like when the Angels lost 14, like, you know how many of those games that if they got one thing one thing fell in or one thing changed, like they win, they go 500, you know? Like, it's the same thing. Like any of these like long-hated losing streaks, it's going to snap back. Like one thing's going to drop in their favor. It's just a matter of when was that team going to be, you know? And like people are like, well, they lost to a team that had a 10 game and an 8 game losing streak. I'm like, that, you know how bad it is to be like the next team in line when they have that big of a losing streak, because it means they're probably going to win. Like, you know how bad that is?
Well, and people are forgetting nothing's like for us as Angels fans, nothing's ever as bad as last season was.
No, I think that's the
point. A point where they're losing 14 in a row. Like this team isn't going to be that team. And it's funny because we've crapped on Phil Nevin, but I think like that's one of the few things I can rely on with Nevin is I don't think we're going to lose 14 in a row.
No, I don't think
we're not going to get those kinds of decisions like we got from Madden, where you're intentionally walking a guy with the bases loaded, which created the best Trout meme ever. You remember the one I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
When they walked him and Trout's like, wait.
Yeah.
he's like looking, he's like, wait, the bases are loaded. Why are we walking this guy? Another bold Madden move.
Hey, it worked. I mean, that's the whole thing is, like I said, if you want to get mad in the if you want to I don't know, if you want if you want, like I said, you want to look at the micro and be like, the team sucks. We got Tungsten dueled again. Blah blah blah. Like whatever. Like enjoy it. Enjoy it, I guess, because baseball happens.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just hoping
Enjoy it.
You know, next week or whenever we are able to talk about the Angels again, could be a good what was I gonna say?
I don't know what you're gonna say.
No, I'm hoping that when we talk about it again, we'll be like, look, the Angels won the next, you know, they won that series against the Rockies, and they won a couple more series, and you know, it's like, it's fine. It's fine. We are much deeper into the year now than we were last year, where I'm still saying, yeah, there's some hope. Now, we haven't gotten to the point this year where I'm like, you remember like when the Angels were doing so good at the beginning of last year, we were like, oh my gosh, this could be a great team. And then the wheels fell off. So no, it's nice to be further on in the season and have the ability to trust that this team isn't necessarily going to fall off the face of the planet.
Yeah, no, that's always good, and I think that's where that's where we're headed, and that's just it ebbs and flows.
I think we'll be playing. Here's my prediction from where we stand right now, and it could be a freezing cold take. But I think we will be playing significant baseball in September this year.
I agree. And I mean,
do we make the playoffs? I don't know.
I think we do.
But we'll be playing significant. I think at the very least we'll be playing significant baseball in September. Games that matter.
I'll go even bolder. I think they take the West. I don't think Texas is bound to fall off pitching wise because they can't. No matter how good an offense is, your offense can't sustain you for 6 months. It's not possible. Houston has
the Angels are showing that right now.
No, exactly. Like Houston, I don't know what happened in Houston. I don't know if it's the whole like they don't have Verlander anymore, but they just seem flat, and I don't really see them getting off to Schneid. I don't really see them having the capacity to do anything. Maybe honestly, that might be the Angels' biggest thing is they have tokens, they have tickets that they can cash in to get guys. Houston doesn't, Texas doesn't, Seattle really doesn't either. So they're in a prime spot to really add. And I think realistically, I think Texas slides a bit, and it's just a matter of do the Angels have enough to sort of like overtake them when they slide? And I think they can. But I think they make the post. I think they make the postseason.
I'm afraid to be that bold just because I
have to look at this team like I like if I'm gonna have to look at this team on a daily basis and like think of things to like cover and write and having to look into it, it's like, wait a minute, this team's actually better than you think. It's just how small blips on the radar just get magnified.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like Rendon's injury. Timmy's prediction of Rendon's injury goes from
10 days
IL to permanently out for the season. That ended up being Urshela, which is like a blow, but not like a. Once we get Neto back, and once we get look. I am very disappointed in Rendon. He's been a terrible contract. So don't take this for wow, once we get Rendon back, everything will be better. That's not what I'm saying.
You're back in the same position.
Is and he's still like when he's here, he's playing,
he still has the caliber.
A great third baseman. Yeah, he's still a great third baseman.
He still has the caliber.
Is hitting at an okay. He's still hitting okay enough. Like he's not what we want Rendon to be, obviously, but he's still hitting okay capable enough that he fills that hole better than Velasquez.
He's still capable. Yeah, he's still capable. The whole thing is to like in that Bo Naylor trade. Can
still get hot too. That's the other thing.
In the Bo Naylor trade, like they're like you can like you might have to trade Rendon just to offload the cash. It's like they still could. Like there's plenty of teams who will pay 40% of Rendon's contract to have Rendon in a lineup. Like plenty of teams would. Like realistically, if the deal's right and they're like, if it's just like, hey, we want to dump the salary, you guys need a third baseman, and he has promise. A few teams would do it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what kind of trades Minasian swings, because
we'll see. At this point, the biggest one I even wrote about it was like, if you're looking to sort of like platoon Walsh, or as everyone wants, send him down to the minors. All right, dude. You got Myers, who's going to be a free agent. He's league minimum if you want to take a flyer on him, and if you DFA him, it only costs you whatever the minimum is. I think $750. Trade market wise, it's like you could try for a guy like Bobby Dahlback, who's in the Red Sox system, who's just floating there, or like I said, you got the Cardinals, who could sell. If the Cardinals end up selling, you got a guy by the name of Paul Goldschmidt out there who maybe you could get. I don't know what it would take, but an Adele and a C. Sleth and maybe Walsh maybe gets the job done. And hell, you could maybe, if you're feeling bold, you can try to get fling Rendon in there. I don't know. But I think there are options, and I think we just wait it out is the best way to go, because you only got another week before the All-Star break, and then you'll be fine. So
yeah.
Dumb thing to start banging the panic button.
No, I agree. It's an interesting time of the year. It's much better to be rooting for this team than it was last year.
Just a lot of armchair GMs who just love saying this is the problem and how to fix it. And it's like, none of you have any idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, by the way, the Dodgers won by a whole run, and now their bullpen has a scoreless streak of 17 and 1/3 innings. The Dodgers are back because of the bullpen. Yippee! Congratulations. No one outside of Chavez Ravine cares. Carry on.
Yeah. Good old Dodgers.
Carry on.
I remember when I used to be a Dodgers fan.
I was never a Dodger fan.
I was when I was a kid. I was a Dodgers and Angels fan.
I just liked Mike Piazza when I was younger.
Oh, man. All right. So, do we want to just do this completely backwards and end on video games or something?
Sure.
And we could do I don't know, NBA right now. We do have a week until the teams have, so teams in college, teams in the Pac-12 have a week from now to opt out of the TV, or to basically opt out of the negotiations and announce their intentions to leave the conference. So we're from what I'm hearing from like on the radio, it seems like probably about a week out or so from hearing either there's a deal in place or there's not going to be a deal in place for a while, and then possibly hearing stuff like Colorado starting to do stuff. But we've talked that one into a hole. There's not much to add at this point. So, but that's just something maybe we should keep our eye on as that develops. And then, the NBA had the draft last night, and it was they said the most watched draft in years. Although I think, having a player who's been touted as like the next generational
talent
of the NBA, which I'm not like I think Wembanyama could be one of the greatest players in NBA, up to this point or whatever. But like, I'm also not sold that he's not going to turn out like Zion, because Zion was also touted to be the next game changer, big player forever sort of thing. Like, you keep getting sold on these guys, and then 5 years in, and you're like, maybe they're not quite as good. But I don't see that necessarily happening with Wembanyama. But there was some, the interesting things for me that happened in the NBA draft was the Jazz did not trade any of their picks. They used them, which was actually kind of fascinating because they had the most ability to have movement because they had 3 first-round draft picks, and they kept them all. They sat on them, and I think that just shows outside of the top 3, outside of Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, and Scoot Henderson, there's
nothing.
I would say there's I think there are honestly some of these guys who got taken who we're gonna be talking in 5 years. Wow, can't believe that
it's just the NBA.
The Pacers who picked 7 picked Bilal Coulibaly when they could have had Jalen Hood Scafino.
I don't know. It's just the NBA. The NBA has the NBA has a history of outside the lottery, it's garbage.
Yeah, well, no, but even outside just the top 3, this time it's every player was basically up for grabs after that. You didn't know.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting when it's it's Wembanyama, then and everyone else.
Wembanyama, and then you had a second tier of Miller and Henderson, and then it just kind of falls off the face of the earth. It was not a small drop off; it was a huge drop off by all draft projections. But as we know, when did Nikola Jokic was a second round draft pick, and now he's the greatest player in the NBA right now.
There are diamonds in the rough. I mean, you look at the Lakers.
That's the thing. I honestly, Jalen Hood Scafino, the Lakers pick, I think he could turn out to be one of the steals of the draft.
Well, what is it you had? I think this really kind of goes under.
He looked good at Indiana. He just had a bad end to his season, and that took a huge slap at his draft
what's interesting? And I don't know why the Lakers don't get enough credit for this. Didn't the Lakers in the last almost every other year have they
drafted guys who are considered all-star talent now?
Yeah, you had Caruso.
Horton Tucker. Look, you've got Caruso. You got
Horton Tucker.
Horton Tucker hasn't turned out yet, but
Josh Hart was a second round pick. Josh Hart,
Jordan Clarkson.
You had what's his name? Reeves was another one.
Austin Reeves. And then but even not thinking necessarily all their second round guys, even some of their first round picks have their first round picks have turned into really good players. Brandon Ingram,
Julius Randle.
Julius Randle. I was about to say Julius Irving.
Different way, different era.
Yeah, no, that's why I stopped myself. But even Lonzo Ball, if minus the injuries,
apart from a crappy shoe company,
was seemed like a promising thing. Speaking of which, I did a whole thing on so I have a friend who's an Angels fan who's Chicago sports fan, but he likes the Angels. And so he's a Cubs, Angels, and then Bears.
What a rough existence for this guy.
Fan.
What a rough existence for this guy.
Anyways, so what was I gonna say? So he posted on Facebook, and it was about Lonzo Ball has been announced to be out for the year.
Yeah.
And before it even started, so he's gonna be basically out for a year and a half. And somebody commented, and it's always funny to me when people do this. So his post was time to acquire a real point guard then. And
don't they have one?
Well, I think they do, but
isn't Colby White there?
One of his friends commented, They got to let him go. He's just sucking up cap space. And I'm like, do you not understand how cap room works? Like how cap hits work? You release him, he's still a cap hit. Like,
yeah, he's still a cap hit.
It's not like it takes it. And so, because I commented, so I did a little bit of research before I commented. I said, if released, he'd still be a cap hit for 2 more seasons unless they stretched him. Then he'd be a smaller cap hit over 5 years. Because what happens is, when you release and stretch, when you use the stretch provision, you double the amount of time. You stretch out the money over the amount of time doubled plus a year.
Yeah.
So he has 2 years left on his contract, $40 million stretched out over 5 years. You could take the cap hit of $8 million a year for 5 years. Still a significant, like a decent little ding on your cap. It's better. It's better than taking 20 million, I guess, if you have like something. But like they're already over the cap so hard,
it doesn't
might
matter.
as well just eat it.
Yeah.
And that way you don't do what the Lakers did with
Luol
Deng, and then you're like paying for it for a while, and then you're not free for a couple extra years because you were wanting to try to do something right then, and you were never going to be able to.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like, "Oh well, they should try to get a real point or a starting point guard by filing for the disabled. It's like the disabled player exception." And I said, do you think you can get a decent player, a decent starting point guard at $10 million? Because the DPE, what it gives you is you can get an exception for half the salary of that year. So they could, and they will probably more than likely apply for an exception so that they can at least get
something,
at least a bench writer for $10 million. But you're not gonna get like a nice starting guard for $10 million.
You'll get starting, but you can get like a Kyle Lowry for that.
You can get somebody who's all right. Somebody who will maybe make 10 points a game and give you 10 assists.
It's better than nothing.
But enough, I guess. But it's not gonna replace the whole like.
But I mean, to be fair, that's kind of like but unfortunately for the Bulls, it's just like another one of those like, how many point guards have the Bulls lost to crappy knees in the last 20 years?
Oh yeah, it sucks.
I mean, Derrick Rose stuff still hurts.
The worst thing is this continues to remind us just how stupid Lamar Ball was.
LeVar Ball, yeah, LeVar Ball, like LeVar. What's hilarious is like LeVar Ball might have ruined both his sons' playing careers strictly over crappy shoes.
Yeah, because he was so obsessed with the branding of the big baller brand.
What's so funny, and I had this conversation earlier with CJ, is I'm like, dude, if LeVar had two any kind of sense, he literally he hires a CFO and a CEO to do the day-by-day stuff, and all LeVar Ball does is promote the crap out of his own crap and let somebody else handle the business, and you just do wacky, crazy LeVar Ball stuff to push your stuff and let everyone else handle like the creation of it, because like those shoes were horrible.
Yeah, well, no, they literally broke his son's ankles.
They broke both his sons.
I get what but I get why he's like pushed so hard on the branding. He wants to capitalize on it as much as possible, make a pretty penny for his whole thing. But Lonzo and LaMelo are both talented enough.
Yep.
That they could have made more money signing up for Nike.
Yep.
And just playing with these good shoes.
Yep.
And they look. I think right now what would be happening is we'd be talking, and if not forced to wear those shoes, we'd be talking about how Lonzo next year would be, or at the end of it, we'd be talking about how, oh, when Lonzo's contract goes up, what is he going to get? He's going to probably get 30 per. He resurrected his career in Chicago, sort of thing. Because that's what it looked like he was doing, and then
it's so rough when
off the face of the earth with his injury. So like,
it's so rough when you see like even LaMelo too. It's like it's so rough when you see like the upside of both these guys, where it's like they come crashing down because I don't know if LaMelo was wearing the shoes. I know LaMelo's is a deal with Puma but it's like I wonder if him getting drafted by Charlotte and having Michael Jordan just be like, get rid of these pieces of crap. Like, I'll get you Nikes. Like, you're not wearing these pieces of crap shoes anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, he still got hurt, but I think it was like a freak thing because of how tall he is. But it's
Jordan. He's out of the ownership now.
Oh well.
I guess it is what it is.
I got no, I don't know what to add to that. I don't.
No, but it's so crazy to think like he had this whole thing of like he was searching to be like the front office, amazingness, and he owned a team so he could really control everything. And now he's just like, huh.
This is kind of stupid.
I'm done.
I think it's just hard. I think it's just hard for players to be execs. Like, it's hard for good players to be coaches. It's just because no one sees the game, they see it. And I think it's just difficult for them. Like, I
think too often what happens to former players, like if you look at him and you look at like Magic Johnson,
like a Magic Johnson coach, yeah.
When you look at them, like some players make good coaches. I don't think most of them make good front office. Like you look at like a lot of the moves that LeBron James made as the player GM kind of guy. Like you look at that Russell Westbrook deal. That was horrible.
I think he just thinks like, I get along with these guys. They might fit. And then it's like, wait, he doesn't fit at all.
Well, what happens is they get too caught up. Like, and I think like even like a Magic Johnson when he was here as the GM or what was it, vice president or whatever,
president of basketball.
I think they too often they see the league through the eyes of when they were playing. Oh, look at this guy. He looks so much like blah, blah, blah. I could build a team that looks like blah, blah, blah. But the problem is like he sees these guys who maybe have a similar play style to famous, Isaiah Thomas or whatever.
I think
I could make that guy the next Isaiah Thomas. It's like, no, you can't.
I think, like I said, I think Kobe talked about it where it was just like, if someone asked him, like, would he ever coach? And he's like, no. He's like, no one sees the game. I see it the way I see it. And I've just learned to accept it. And the funny thing was, when he coached his daughter, it was like when they started releasing clips after he passed away of like him and coaching his daughter, it was sort of like he was good at it. Talking to kids, because he can explain it to a kid where it's just like, oh, hey, we're going to do this. And if that doesn't work, it's going to be this. Well, why is that? Well, because if they cover 1, 2 will easily put the dagger in them as well. So we're just going to dominate. And it's like, you can't, and the whole thing is the way he said, I'm like, you can't say that to an NBA team. You can't look at like a Lakers team or a bad NBA team and be like, hey, we're going to run this. Why? Oh, because he's really good there. That guy's really good there. So we want to, get him both ways. Like, no NBA teams will be like, oh yeah, that'll work. They'll be like, wait, why don't we do this? Yeah. Like, it's stuff like that where it's like, if guys who are that high of a basketball IQ, football IQ, baseball IQ, none of them see the game the same way as a common player, as a role player. They see the floor as like a chessboard and want to move pieces, whereas a lot of these NBA players who are like meanderer players, they don't really see it that way. They just sort of see it as like, me get ball, me shoot, kind of like the Heat. A lot of me get ball, me shoot, not a lot of formatting and sort of like seeing things develop. I know there's one thing I heard somebody say, like, oh, college players only know plays, not like actual movements. I'm like, isn't that how it should be? It's like, if A then B, if B then C sort of thing, and not like this weird like free radical sort of situation where it's almost like you kind of just move it and hope something magically appears. Has basketball moved that far away from me, or it's like instead like the days of the triangle offense where it's almost like you sort of make the ball movement, and because you move it enough, like something opens up, and like that's the play. Where it's almost sort of like a free range, like just get in a spot and do something. Is that what we've turned into? Does the game pass me up that much?
I don't know. I mean, it's just funny. But I mean, all of that comes down to like, I think right now, one of the things that I've been thinking about recently is the NBA is going to be kind of interesting.
Yes.
Well,
no.
For the next couple of years, it's kind of wide open.
Yeah, the Celtics. You had two teams.
Chris Paul's now ended up in Golden State.
Two teams
was not what I expected.
Two teams got worse. One team stayed the same.
I don't know that helps Golden State.
It doesn't. I think they're worse. I think Golden State.
I don't know if it necessarily.
I don't think any team is
the only worse right away, but like it definitely.
I think the only team that got
worse in the long run. Like,
I think the only
still had something.
I think the only team that got better in that quasi 3-team deal was Washington. Or Washington does Memphis has 2 defensive players of the year now? Like Memphis got better. Washington got better. Like Memphis got way better. Boston took a step back. Golden State.
Why Boston went after Porzingis, because he's kind of isn't like he kind of considered washed up. Like, wasn't that the whole thing? Was like,
I don't know. Are they concerned they're not going to get Jaylen Brown back? So they want a caveat just in case. I don't know. I don't know why they were pushing so hard for Kristaps Porzingis. I don't get it unless there's something like I've not seen.
Phil Jackson whispering in their ear.
I don't know. I don't understand a lot of the things like the Celtics did, because it's like that just doesn't make sense. I guess realistically they want another shooter because Miami beat them shooting wise, and Porzingis can still shoot. I guess. I'm no NBA guy.
I need to see what his statistics are.
But it's one of those things where I made the point, where I was making the point with CJ in his stream earlier, where it was like with Phoenix, it's like if you wanted a shooter, like Kyle Kuzma's out there, and Kyle Kuzma's like not going to cost you first round pick if you're really that big on a shooter, but like Kyle Kuzma's a shooter. He's not going to cost you a whole heck of a lot.
I wouldn't be 100% surprised to see Kuzma end up back in LA.
No, that's what I'm saying. Unless they know he's going back to the Lakers, like they're already like it's those back end deals where it's like, oh, at midnight he's signing with the Lakers. Like he comes back to the Lakers and everyone knows it, so they don't want to touch him. But it's stuff like that where it's just like what's going on? And then there's rumblings like Paul George might get traded, and I'm like, I mean, good luck.
So I guess Porzingis did kind of make a decent little.
That's what I'm saying. Is like I think he's still a shooter. Right? He's still a shooter. But I don't.
So he had some years of injuries.
Yeah.
In 2020 he played. 2021 he played 43 games. In 21-22 he played 34 games. In 20. Oh no, sorry. He played 51 games in 21. No, wait. Oh yeah. And then last year he played 65. And he's been averaging between 20 and 20 between 20 and 24 points per game since 2017-2018. So he's still decent. He's not amazing. His 3-point percentage isn't amazing either. His best, I mean, he did have a bit of a resurgence last year. He shot 38.5 from behind the arc. It's not it's not amazing. It's not gonna break records, but it's gonna, 1 out of every 3 shots is going in, or whatever it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean it's whatever. Like I said, Golden State got worse.
Why go hard after him?
Yeah, and I think Golden State kind of took a step back, and I don't think Phoenix did anything. I don't think Bradley Beal is going to magically do anything for him. But I guess your logic is, if it all goes to bad, we can trade away these 3 guys and recoup some draft pick compensation. But it just seems weird to me in the West for 2 teams that were in the playoffs to do stuff like this, because it doesn't counteract sort of the issue in the West, which is Jokic. Like Bradley Beal's not going to help you beat Jokic. Like Chris Paul ain't going to help you beat Jokic. Hell, it won't even help you beat the Lakers, who, if they keep this team, will be a threat. So I don't get it. But maybe free agency also hasn't really started, so it might be sort of like a drawing of the line to like get ready for when trades start to happen.
Yeah,
which will happen.
Well, I guess we'll do the whole reverse episode in video games. So I don't know if there's a ton of video game news, but how's
I mean, there was
streaming or
there was the Nintendo
Direct. There was that one thing that happened there.
I was
Mario RPG remake.
I'm
actually really excited for that.
I just want to say this as a whole, I was very underwhelmed. And I've been underwhelmed by a lot of Nintendo stuff ever since Tears of the Kingdom. Overwhelmingly, Nintendo's doing this weird thing where somebody was talking about it last night or a couple nights ago, where it was like, are they holding back because they want to Switch 2? And I'm like, I don't think Nintendo's making a Switch 2. I think Nintendo's suffering from Nintendo syndrome of what Nintendo has a very weird habit in console life where they, for whatever reason, they love to hang on like their laurels about certain things and then just rebrand things in a different coat of paint. And that's what this felt like. Is I know people were like remakes of, was it Mario RP, which everyone liked, Pikmin 4, which is like another big title, which will be good for them. But like Luigi's Mansion was another remake, and I think there's another one. Peach was getting a new game. It's just like, I know we just got Tears of the Kingdom and Pokemon, but it's like, is there not going to be another new like original Mario game?
There was Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which is the new 2D platformer.
But I mean, are we gonna get like another 3D like Odyssey game, or are we sort of just like, that's only launch titles now? We're not ready to launch a new system.
Hard to tell. I mean, they definitely don't seem to recognize where like the best money kind of comes from.
No,
because it's
Nintendo,
weird because they do these things, and it's like, why aren't you?
They can't.
They can't. Well, it's funny because they go and they say, oh, like I think it was a couple years ago they were like, oh, we're done updating Mario Maker 2, and then they've held to that, but it's like, why? You still had, like, particularly at the time, they still had this like thriving community.
They still do. It still does really well. It's still getting played.
Well, no, it's but like a couple years ago, the community was like, now, yes, it's still really big, and this is the community that you have. This is like the base core of it, and then a couple years ago they had a bunch of stuff on top of that core.
Okay,
but like instead of like building that up, selling different things or going for different things, they're just like, no, we're done because we're gonna push on this other thing. And it's like, but you're not gonna sell that other thing.
But what's the other thing?
It's other games.
But it's one of those bits too where it's like
any games that they pushed over the past couple years.
I mean,
Tears of the Kingdom, I guess, was maybe they pulled people off and wanted to focus on that.
No, like that's the thing. It's like, I get it when it comes down to like, hey, we want to work on big titles. Let's get everyone to work on one big title. But it's like, okay, Tears of the Kingdom's done. Okay, what's the next thing for that group? Is it going to be like, what are you shifting to? Because it's like I said, at this point, it's just a matter of, okay, there's got to be a new Mario, like a new original Mario IP, right? Not these recycled, redone ROMs that we don't want people playing, so we're just gonna relaunch them for a year and then take it off the market. Like is Odyssey 2 coming? I mean, heck, I was talking to somebody about this. I said, it'd be really cool, legitimately, a remaster of like Super Mario Galaxy, not the All-Star one, a complete revamp of it, like sure. Like make it look new again if you want to do that, because that would sell. Like that by far is everyone's like favorite Mario game, right? It's like, do stuff like that. But it's just like, I mean, I just started playing Tears of the Kingdom. I'm probably gonna play it once we're done here. I love it. I think it's great. I think I'm only a couple hours into it, if that.
I had a buddy who told me it kind of reminds him of Valheim.
It has that feel. There's a lot of building. I don't know if I'm gonna. I kind of want to get my bearings on my own, and I might do, because I have 3 profiles on my Switch, so I can play it on stream. But yeah, it has sort of like a Valheim thing where you have to build crafts and sort of like, do things. It's nothing too difficult, but there is some building involved. but it's good. I think I'm gonna enjoy myself and like immersing. One thing I really like about games is like getting games that'll last me a while. So that'll do it. But it's just I just want to be wowed by Nintendo again with something like consistently. And it's like Here's the Kingdom definitely did it.
You were definitely speaking the minds of Nintendo fans.
But I'm just like, come on, like
no, yeah.
I mean, hell, we've gotten like what's wild is there have been 3 mainline Pokemon games in what 18 months. You had BDSP, Arceus, and then Scarlet and Violet from November of 2021 to November of 22. So in a year, there were 3 Pokemon games. Like that's insane. And
did you see the trailer for Super Mario Brothers Wonder?
No, I only saw the RP one. I think I don't think I saw.
I'll send you the clip or the trailer for YouTube. I honestly don't like the way it looks. It looks
this was what I saw. I thought this was the RP. RPG.
No. This is the 2D side scroller.
I'm watching this now. Oh, it kind of looks like Paper Mario. Like Paper Mario Maker.
I don't like its look.
It's interesting.
It's going way too far into like a cartoony. I'm sure it'll do okay.
It'll be fun. You know what's funny? You know what this art? You know where this something like this? You're gonna hate when I say this. This would be great for Mario Maker.
Oh yeah.
Just to like just the style to spice it up a little bit. I think it'd be great, but they're not gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean they won't do a Mario Maker 3 until the whatever Switch 2 or whatever their next console comes out. And that's not gonna be for years. No, I'm excited about the Super Mario RPG remake. That's gonna actually be fun because the original game is like one of the best RPGs of all time.
I think I did see this.
That does sound overstated, but like it's the original is one of the best RPGs of all time.
I've heard that.
It was developed and made in unison between
Square Enix. Square Enix.
Well, at the time it was Squaresoft.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, and it was like this amazingly built game. It was partially for beginners, but it was like this awesome game, awesome story. And then it's like, then they couldn't touch it for years because Nintendo and Square had just such a big falling out. But it's like. But now I think they're back enough that I don't think Square's participating. I don't remember, but I don't think Square Enix is participating this time around. But they're allowing Nintendo to use the IP and use the
some of the characters, right?
So no, but yeah. Outside of that, how's the streaming going? You've been doing Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Yeah. I just got back to Sector 7 today because I had to end a little bit early, but we got back to Sector 7. We got Tifa back. The gang's all here. Both of Cloud's girls have met and they're getting along, which, equals doom for Cloud.
I could only pop in and out of your stream because I was busy this afternoon. But
I know.
It looks like you're having fun.
I just need to like build the characters mode stuff better. But
I got the chance to bully you when it wasn't you already being like super angry about it.
I was doing great in that dance. I was being sensual and everything. I made that gay man do something. Aerith was having fun. So hey, you know what? I think I went out.
You should post that to your shorts.
I'd rather not. Thanks.
Oh man. No,
I was honestly, I will say so. I was very surprised. I got the fancy dolled up Aerith. I really thought I was gonna get the middle one, and you didn't get to see it.
Well, I can watch it on your VOD.
I think I made the comment. I'm like, Bryce is missing his girl's grand debut.
Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. I played that whole game. So.
No, I know.
My plan is maybe sooner rather than later. Maybe I'll give up my Valheim playthrough. I don't know. It's
gonna play Final Fantasy 7 on hard mode.
No, I'm just gonna do regular Final Fantasy 7, the OG. I'm gonna like push for it for a time or two a week, and then because that's a game I just love and I can get through it fast because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then transition from that to the remake, and then transition from that to maybe Final Fantasy 7 Part 2. Maybe. We'll see.
In the spring of next year.
Spring next year. Yeah, we'll see.
They turned Sephiroth into Thanos.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. This motherfucker knows.
Yeah, no,
they're playing with the time. This Sacco.
You were gonna get to some good parts. I mean,
I've sort of gathered. See, so here's what's funny is because I know how disc 1 ends. I know how disc 1 ends. I know what happens when you get technically out of Midgar. I know it's supposed to happen. The question is, I haven't found a fit answer. I'm like, wait, does what I know happen? What happens at the end of disc 1 happen at the end of part 1? And everyone's like, I'm like, no, it's a yes or no question. Does it happen? If it happens, I might actually like, I know the order of like how not dark, but like how disc 1 ends. And I know it's going to be really rough because they've added so much depth to these characters, especially like Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. And it's like, I know what happens to them. And I'm like, this is going to be so rough when I get to that. And it's soon. So it's like, I'm gearing myself up for what happens at the end of disc 1. And I'm like, I'm
not gonna give you any spoilers,
but it's one of those bits where it's like, I know what happens in the disc 1.
Let me say
if that scene happens again, it's gonna be rough because like I said, the remake
development is much stronger in the new one than it was in the OG.
Because what they've done is they made Aerith, who in the original I was like, I can take her or leave her, but in this one, because they've having voice actors, having the ability to have her sort of like her personality shown, have her play off of Cloud and Tifa, and hilariously, like, I don't like even in the original one, I was like, is she third wheeling here? Like, and I think I said this on stream where it was like, Tifa's that childhood friend you have, and like you go through high school together, and then Cloud went to another college and met Aerith, and he can't get rid of her because she's just like, I'm coming with you. You're like, well, who the hell invited you? And she's just there.
The idea behind Aerith in the original
like I told you,
it was supposed to be a love triangle, but like the idea behind Aerith in the original, like by the time you get to trying to think of what I was going to say.
Genova,
basically, right? Basically, what you're supposed to almost feel like is like Cloud was emotionally unavailable, and she opens him up emotionally. In a way, he falls in love with her. But then, obviously, the game's been out for 20 some odd years, 30 years, close to 30 years. Aerith in the original, I don't know what'll happen in the new one, but Aerith in the original dies.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's spoilers, whatever.
Well, that's why
she died.
That's what I'm thinking. Is she gonna die in this one? Because the way she's, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but the way she's talking, and the reason why I sort of made the comment of like they've turned Sephiroth into Thanos is almost like they turned Aerith into sort of like Iron
Man,
not Iron Man, fucking the Doctor.
Oh, Gamora.
The Doctor.
Oh.
Doctor Strange. Because she keeps making this comment of like, oh, the future is what we make it. And I'm like, and every time she says that, I'm like, wait, does she know? it's one of those bits where I'm like, is she aware? Is she sort of like she knows what's gonna happen to her, and she's trying to like will it to where that doesn't happen? Like she's so aware, and I don't mean that like in a bad way, but it's like because I know I read something I read something somewhere about the original transcripts of Final Fantasy VII, where they kind of wanted Sephiroth and her to be the two opposites of the same coin, almost, and then that got scrapped. But it sort of feels like in this one they are doing that. But the whole thing is like because they gave her depth and they're sort of, and kind of what you said, where it's like she's opening Cloud up in a way that it's like, I think too, because when they redid Crisis Core, I think seeing what she did with Zack, you kind of see it a little bit too, where she's sort of like, oh, you remind me of him. You remind me of Zack.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's part of why she initially falls for him, but like then she realizes he's this own separate person of like, it's a whole thing. And so like, but that's the whole thing is like the buildup is supposed to be that Cloud falls in love with him and then realizes after Aerith dies, oh my gosh, Tifa's been here all along kind of thing.
Yeah, it's that, like I sort of said, that college thing where it's like she's the girl that he needed to like believe in him enough to be like, no, you aren't just this soldier, I've jokingly called him, oh, he's the protagonist. Of course, all this stuff's going to happen. Like, you're more than just this ex-soldier guy who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It's like, no, you're Cloud.
Well, in the original, although I don't know how this is going to play out.
He has a mental break in the original.
Yeah, in the original, it's like you find out that he wasn't who he thought he was. He wasn't a soldier first class. He was a Shinra grunt.
Yep. He was trash.
And he just happened to go back to Nibelheim with Zack and Sephiroth.
Yep.
When Sephiroth descended into insanity. So, but that's the thing. Here's the thing, and I don't want to spoil the game for you, so I'm not going to.
I played the original.
But, no. What I'm saying is I don't want to spoil the remake for you.
Oh.
Because you are going to, because you know what happens in the original, you are going to have probably the same reaction I did when you get to the end, which is, what does this all mean?
I'm already sort of having that now.
What's going on?
Because
no, I know. That's the thing. You're starting to know, but you're gonna get to the end and you're gonna be like, what does that mean? What's going to happen in the next game?
No, because that's the whole thing. How is this all
going to play out?
Because, like I said,
how does this affect the storyline?
Yeah, because that's
where are we going?
Because I had the, like I said, where it's like, why are they turning Aerith and Doctor Strange? I don't understand why she had. It's almost like I'm legitimately waiting for her to literally look at Cloud and say, "I'm going to die, and I don't want to, and I'm gonna change it." And it's like that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for her to literally be like, Sephiroth's going to kill me, and I need you to stop it. Because it's almost like that's what's happening. It's like she knows that Cloud is the hero, but can't say it because, like, if she does, it'll ruin what he has to do. It sort of feels like this weird Obi-Wan Kenobi situation where it's like, strike me down and I will come back stronger than you ever will, sort of thing.
You have not quite gotten to a point in this game.
I just started at chapter 10.
You've just gotten the inklings.
I'm getting things from her where it's like she knows something.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You're just now getting the inklings of, whoa, stuff's happening.
I'm already seeing that. I'm seeing, like, hilariously, I'm like, okay, so it's like
you're about to. I think you're literally within moments. I need to see where you ended. I ended at I just hit chapter 11 because I have to put Steel on Aerith because there's a thing I have to get for her to get her turn her into You were right around the corner from a huge plot twist.
Oh, so you're telling me I stopped at the right time today? Because I literally got back to the
yeah.
So I literally stopped at the slums. Depending on how long
it takes you in the next stream, you might get to this point where you're like,
how much do I have left? So I'm in 11. I think there's 19 chapters.
Yeah. something like that. But the next several chapters,
18 chapters.
Once you get to Shinra,
I can tell you where I'm
start
at.
to hit longer chapters, like chapters that take you longer to progress.
Yeah, I just started 11 haunted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. That's where it really starts to build towards the end game.
Well, considering
oh, this is different than the original.
Well, I'm just sort of looking at the title of these chapters, where it's just sort of like haunted. 12 is fights for survival. 13's broken world. 14 in search of hope. 15, this doesn't sound ominous. The day Midgar stood still. Like I'm sort of seeing like this, like descent into like it's apexing some. It's gonna apex. It's apexing soon.
Well, yeah, it's definitely going to give you something, and then at the end, the ending's so good. The whole game is brilliant.
No,
brilliant
and I know,
written.
and I think I'm going to finish up the original fairly soon.
Ooh.
I don't know. We've been talking about it, where it's sort of like we want to get through it. And I don't think there's from what you told me, there's not a lot left. So it's just
you guys literally basically just have to go and fight Sephiroth.
So there's just the last. So it's just the last, because I think we have to do one more thing.
What did I see? You guys were on chapter 33 and there's 36 chapters or something like that.
Yeah, and I know the last disc is like the last dungeon and the final fight. I know there's one scene that I know of that hasn't happened yet, and I think that's coming up when Tifa and Cloud, but I think that's soon.
Now you guys are
Are you just looking at the stream?
gotta do that. No. I'm remembering the stream. And then you guys.
How many chapters are in? They really did kind of make this. They really did make Midgar its own game, which is wild.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You guys, I think, are literally within like 5-6 hours of gameplay.
It's all story too. That's such a pain in the ass.
Oh, but it's thick.
I know. It's one of those things where I'm like, this game's gonna lay it on. Do I have to play Crisis Core? Is that what has to happen?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't never done it.
But what if I just want more? What if I want more air?
Okay, yeah. You guys are at Key of the Ancients. So you guys have Key of the Ancients, Return to Midgar, the Sister Ray, and then the Northern Cave. And then
I think we're further than that.
Inside the Planet. No, I remember where you guys were. You guys didn't quite get there.
I remember them talking about the Northern Cave.
If you guys stream this sometime soon, I will probably sit there.
I know.
Go here.
I should be. I'm doing something with him Wednesday, but I think he wants to do like we were talking about Pokemon. Because I think
Pokemon.
He wants to beat Scarlet, so I'm like, I can. Yeah, I don't have to do diddly for that. But I think if we did another like FF7, it might just be a weekend where we can hope maybe just knock it out if it's not too long. Because I know the biggest problem with it is just like it's just all story at this point.
Yeah.
So
lots of pressing the circle button.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways. Oh yeah. good stuff. And I was able to take kind of a week off this week.
F the hell house.
And yeah, trying to get ready to move. We haven't been very good at doing a lot of that, but today at least gave me a chance to rest and relax. And then tomorrow I'll actually be able to do stuff. Because the problem I end up having a lot of the time when I want to do work on Saturdays is I Fridays I get home from work.
You're just dead, right?
I maybe if I get a chance to nap, I maybe take a small nap, and then I stream, and then I do the podcast, and then today I came home, I took care of some stuff with my car.
Your Friday was what my Friday was for a while, where it was just like I worked in the morning, streamed, and then this, where it's like I had a little bit of a break. But now since I reworked, I'm reworking my schedule again to where I don't have to write on Fridays. It's helped a lot. I get it. But next week will be really fun.
Yeah, next week will be good. Without pinning anybody into a corner, we've got a probable
hopefully
guest. Yeah, no, that's as much as I'll say. I don't want to give their name away.
I still have to watch their. I still have to I've been watching a little bit of their stuff. It's like I need to watch more.
But for those who are a fan of good content, this person is
solid.
Is an excellent streamer. Again, I don't want to give any hints and be like, oh, they play this game. They're big on the scene now with this game, sort of thing.
It'll be fun.
No, I think it'll be a fun interview. It'll be fun to talk to them and get their insights and just have some good, old fashioned, hey, funny times, ha ha ha, sort of thing. Maybe I'll even laugh what's his name in the Final Fantasy X?
Ha ha ha. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys all next week. This was an extra long episode, but enjoy it next week.
Longer than I thought.
Next weekend's 4th of July weekend too. Hey, look at that extra long weekend for not Bryce.
Yeah, never long for me.
All right. Well, have yourself a good one. We'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.
See you guys.